As part of our research to find the best air purifier in the UK, I came across the Winix Zero Pro. Looking at images, it seems that this device was known as the HR9000 over in the US, and whilst filters are available, you can't find this device anywhere to buy. Now, I paid £239.95 from amazon.co.uk for our Winix Zero Pro. We have reviewed many Winix air purifiers here on this channel, and we were keen to see if the Pro was worth the extra money. Now, if you don't know it, Winix has been in the air purifier game for decades, and many of the devices are those that we recommend thanks to their high air cleaner performance and fair price. Now, if you don't want to watch my full review, here are the 5 things I like and the 3 things I don't about the Winix Zero Pro. The first one is it has great air cleaner performance at full speed and at sub 45 decibels. 2, it has a slightly thicker particle filter. 3, the build quality feels improved over the cheaper Zero S. 4, it has a removable pre-filter, which just makes it much easier to keep on top of keeping it clean. 5, it has 2 air quality sensors, one for gas and one for particles. What I don't like about this device, the first one is it has much higher energy costs than the cheaper Winix Zero S or the Winix Zero. Second, filter costs are also higher, although you do get a bigger particle filter and more activated carbon. 3, the carbon filters have less activated carbon than what we see in the H filters. Right, let's jump into the full review. Long-term viewers will know the first thing I like to do with our reviews is go over to the Energy Star website to see if a KDAR report exists. Now, sadly, unlike many of the other Winix devices we've reviewed, there isn't a KDAR report for the Winix Zero Pro or the US named HR9000s. However, Winix does report in their marketing materials a KDAR of 470 M3H or 276 CFM. This would mean it has a slightly higher KDAR than a device like the Winix 5500-2. It has a KDAR of 243 CFM. Now, according to our Zen sensor, the Winix 5500-2 and the Winix Zero S were able to clean our test room between 22 and 24 minutes of all PM1. Assuming this device has a higher KDAR, we would expect that this device will be slightly quicker at removing all PM1 in our test room. Let's jump into the design of this device. Now, the Winix Zero Pro is actually a lot chunkier than other Winix devices we've tested, and this shows in its weight. So the Winix Zero Pro is 24 pounds, while the Winix 5500-2 is just under 15 pounds. Similar to the Winix 5500-2 and the Winix Zero S, this device pulls air from the front of the device and then fires the clean air out of the top. Now, personally, I really like the design of this device, but my wife disagrees. So I'm going to show you lots of footage of this Winix device so you can make your mind up yourself. The fact that this uses a front-facing design means that it has a removable pre-filter. And if you've seen my channel before, you know I really love a removable pre-filter, as it just means that you can stay on top of keeping it clean. And we know in our own test that a dirty pre-filter can actually reduce performance by up to 40%. So anything that makes that easier is a good plus for me. Similar to the other Winix devices, it also has a LED at the front of the device, and this will change depending on the air quality in your room, going from green and clean to red, very dirty. Comparing this to the Winix Zero, the Zero Pro's light is a lot easier to see from any location in the room. As with the other similar looking Winix devices we've tested, the Winix Zero Pro has 4 different speeds, from low to turbo. It also has a child lock, timer functions, and the ability to engage auto mode, where it will use the sensors to switch the fan depending on the air quality in your room. It also has plasma wave, which is Winix's take on ionization, but this can be easily disabled with the press of a button. Like the Winix 5500-2 and the Zero S, this device does not have any app support, so if you want to use a mobile app, you just won't be able to use it. One thing that could be a plus or minus depending on your use case is that the Winix Zero Pro, when it detects no light, it will switch automatically into sleep mode. However, this can be a challenge for some users who want the device running at higher fan speeds even when the lights are not on. So just weigh that up for your particular use case. So this device actually uses different filters than what we see in the Winix 5500-2, 5300-2, the Zero S or the Zero. And it actually uses these filters. These are called the Winix T. So this is the particle filter from the T. And as you can see, it's slightly smaller from a dimensions point of view, but is thicker when it comes to the amount of particle filter that you get. And one thing that I also noticed, which was a slight benefit over the A and H particle filters, is there is this foam around the outside, which should mean that you can get a better seal so no air can pass through. So from the particle filter, it does feel like you get a slightly higher quality filter. Now let's talk about carbon. So when it comes to the carbon filters, I was a little surprised because I would have assumed that they would have created a bigger carbon filter for the Pro range. Now, this is the carbon filter that you get as standard with the 5300-2 or the Winix Zero S or the Winix Zero in the UK. And this is the A carbon filter. It's impregnated fabric. It's probably the weakest type of activated carbon filter you can get, and you often need to replace this quite often. So it's not great, but it comes in the cheaper devices. Now this is the H filter that comes as standard with the Winix 5500-2, and you can use this, as if you look at my review for the Winix Zero S, you can use this if you replace it after you've used these filters. Now we weighed this particular filter and it measured 666 grams. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of activated carbon in there. Now this is the activated carbon for the Winix Zero Pro, and straight away I could feel it was much lighter. So whilst this was 666 grams, this was 200 grams less at around 444. And it's just a surprise because I would have assumed the Zero Pro would have more carbon to account for the extra pricing, for the fact that these T filters are often around $20 or £20 more expensive than the H. So I'm not sure what the plan is, but with this device, you get less carbon. So let's jump into the exciting part and test the performance of the Winix Zero Pro. Now we tested this device in the same test room that we've tested over 80 different air purifiers. It's a room that's 728 cubic feet. We light some incense smoke and then we record how quickly the air purifier can remove PM1, PM2.5 and PM10 using a purple air sensor. This year we've started recording our tests so you can see for yourself, but the Winix Zero Pro managed to achieve PM10 in 25 minutes. Now this was a little less than I had expected based on the KDAR that Winix gave. I was hoping that it would be slightly quicker than the cheaper Winix Zero S, but you can compare these results with other devices we've benchmarked. As you can see in the table, it's not a bad result, but I was really hoping that it would be slightly quicker than the Winix Zero S, but it wasn't. Whilst air cleaning performance is the main thing to look for when choosing an air purifier, it's not the only thing. If an air purifier sounds like a vacuum cleaner going at full blast, you're not going to want to use it, which is why we record the level of sound at 3 feet away for every device we test. And these are the results for the Winix Zero Pro. Now just be aware that the background noise in this location is similar to what we're getting for Speed 1. So it's likely if you're able to record this device in a quiet room, then it would be much lower. But please have a listen for yourself at this device running at each fan speed. I've also made a comparison with other devices we've tested and you can see the results here. As you can see in the table, the Winix Zero Pro is in the middle of other devices we've tested running at their full speed. The benefit of higher KDAR devices, it's the reason why I push large devices to everyone who watches my videos, is that you can use the device on a lower fan speed and it'll be much quieter. Now we use a limit of 45 decibels based on the Clean Air Stars tool, which they recommend for noisy classrooms. Now high speed on the Winix Zero Pro is 41.1 decibels. So we made sure to test performance at removing PM1 running at this fan speed. Running at high speed, it took 45 minutes to clean our test room of PM1, and we can compare this to other devices we've tested running at their lower fan speeds. Whilst it was a little quieter than the Winix Zero S, it took 1 minute longer to clean our test room. This device was definitely on par with many of the other HEPA retail devices we've tested when running at its lower fan speed. As part of our review, we also look at the amount of energy that's used. Now this device has 5 speeds, including standby, and here are the results for the amount of energy that is used. At top speed, the Winix Zero Pro pulls 70.2 watts. Now, if you were to use it at this turbo speed 24/7 every day of the year, it would add an additional $73.79 to your energy bill. And we can compare this to other devices we've benchmarked. As you can see in the table, the Winix Zero Pro is more energy intensive than other similar performing devices, which makes us think that as it has thicker filters, the device needs more energy to push enough air through these filters. As with any air purifier that uses mechanical filtration, the filters for the Winix Zero Pro will need replacing eventually. Winix recommends that you replace the filters every 12 months. And the OEM Type T filters for this device are available for £69.99, or around $90 US. And we can compare these filter replacement costs with other devices we've tested. Looking at the table, we can see that the higher energy costs and the higher costs of the OEM filters does mean that the Winix Zero Pro has a higher running cost than other similar performing devices we've looked at. Looking at Amazon, there are generic filters available for the Type T, and they're around £36, which does bring the cost of running this device down quite significantly. Although with generic filters, you don't know what type of particle filtration they use or the amount of carbon. So we will look at testing many of these generic filters so you can identify which ones are worth your money. So the bottom line, is the Winix Zero Pro worth it? Well, it's heavier, more energy intensive, and has more expensive filters, and the performance is actually slower than some of the cheaper Winix devices. So it's really hard to recommend going for the Winix Zero Pro over something like the Winix Zero S. For those in the UK, if you want your best bang for your buck and you want to deal with odors, then get the device like the Winix Zero S and just buy the replacement H filters that you can put in this device and have pelleted activated carbon. Now, I personally really like the look of this device. It feels really well made, but I have to say I'm disappointed that it wasn't able to perform better in our performance test, and I would like to see Winix bringing more carbon to this device, considering it's called the Pro. Anyway, as always, let me know in the comments what you think of this device, or if you have any specific questions that I can help you answer, and I'll see you all in the next video.